I'm Lauren Gerritsen. I'm the creator of the Autoimmune Class, and I am on a mission to help you find lifelong autoimmune and pharmaceutical freedom. A lot of autoimmune patients often believe that their doctors know best, but this isn't necessarily true. What doctors know is what's in the best interest of the pharmaceutical industry, not what's in the best interest of their autoimmune patients. That's not because your doctor is a bad person. It's simply because that's what they were taught. Your doctor is not a health expert. They are a pharmaceutical expert. Their medical education was simply bought and paid for by the pharmaceutical industry. So they were not taught very simple facts about how the body works and how the body heals. As a result, they tend to turn autoimmune patients into lifelong pharmaceutical customers and surgical candidates. This is what I call being put on the medical conveyor belt. I was on that medical conveyor belt for years. I was diagnosed with a very severe form of ulcerative colitis, an autoimmune disease, when I was a teenager. And by the time I was 18, I was bedridden and wondering if my life was worth living because I didn't see a future ahead of me and I was so sick. I started healing the moment I stopped listening to my doctor's pharmaceutically funded advice. I learned how to do better research than my doctors. I learned the simple facts about how my body works, how the body heals, and how to facilitate that healing. Before I go further, nothing that I share is medical advice. This is just my personal story, my personal research that I'm sharing for entertainment purposes only. Let's dive into these 3 facts that your doctor probably does not even know about autoimmunity. And if you equip yourself with this knowledge, you are going to be on the path to finding lifelong freedom from autoimmunity and pharmaceuticals. The first fact is that autoimmunity does not mean something has gone wrong with your body. It means that your body is doing everything right. When I was first diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, my doctors explained it that something had gone wrong with my body and my body was now attacking my own body tissue. And they gave me the message that now I would need pharmaceuticals and potentially surgery to save me from the fate of my own broken body. This is a message that a lot of autoimmune patients get, and it's not really true. Autoimmune disease does not mean anything has gone wrong with your body. It means your body is doing everything right. Your body is responding perfectly and appropriately to your environment. And if your body didn't make these changes and adaptations that led to autoimmune disease, you wouldn't be alive right now. This is your wise body loving and protecting you in the best way possible. The human body is not stupid. The human body is a very, very wise spiritual instrument. The medical industry sees the body as a machine, separate from the mind and the spirit and the soul, and that's simply not true. When we understand that the body, through autoimmunity, is doing everything right, we reach the conclusion that it's not the body that's dysfunctional that needs to be fixed. It's the environment that is dysfunctional and needs to be changed. When I say environment, I'm not just talking about your living location, your region. I am talking about both the inner and the outer environment. Your inner environment is perhaps the most important when we're talking about autoimmune conditions. This is your thoughts, your subconscious mindset, your beliefs, your spiritual values, your self-esteem, your communication abilities, your trapped emotions, the trauma that has been trapped in your body at an energetic level. All of these things are the inner environment. And then the outer environment is, yes, our living location. It's also our lifestyle, our nutrition, our nature exposure, our toxin exposure, our news exposure. Now that is a big one I like to mention. A lot of people don't understand that mainstream media is actually designed to put people into a fight or flight state of the nervous system. So we can be exposed to a lot of things that are triggering the nervous system to believe that it's not safe, and we can't heal when the nervous system is in that I'm not safe mode. The standard approach to autoimmunity is silencing symptoms through pharmaceuticals and sometimes surgery. But that's not addressing the real problem. The root problem is environmental, inner and outer environment. Further, when we silence symptoms, we are actually silencing the body's message of what needs to change in the environment and how that environment needs to change. So that can make autoimmune conditions much worse in the long term. Those are messages we need to listen to. The key here is learning how to listen to your body's messages instead of silencing symptoms so that you can properly change your environment. And when that is addressed, the root cause of autoimmunity is solved and you can experience autoimmune and pharmaceutical freedom. The second fact about autoimmunity is that there exist options beyond pharmaceuticals and surgery. When I was first diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, my doctors told me that the best I could hope for was remission. And they said the only way I could induce remission was through pharmaceutical drugs and that I would need these drugs for the rest of my life. They also said that if those drugs failed, which they did one after the other, then it got to the point of them threatening me with a life-changing surgery to remove part of my colon. By divine grace, truly, I learned alternatives to that medical conveyor belt. I was able to fully heal a disease that my doctors called incurable. It was not incurable. If your doctor has ever called an autoimmune condition incurable or lifelong, that right there is medical misinformation. Medical doctors are often the greatest source of medical misinformation when it comes to autoimmune disease. They simply don't know what they don't know. On this topic, here's something else your doctor will not tell you. There are no such thing as side effects when it comes to pharmaceutical drugs. It is poisoning effects, because when you silence symptoms in one part of your body, it actually creates imbalances in other parts of your body, and those manifest as symptoms that are uncomfortable or distressing, but that's not a side effect. That is your body telling you that you are being poisoned by these chemicals. And the real solution here is to find balance in all parts of your body. There are alternatives to pharmaceuticals and surgery when it comes to autoimmunity, and that's what I dive into in the autoimmune class. The third fact your doctor doesn't know about autoimmunity is that autoimmunity is not just a physical health problem. It is a soul health problem. Doctors are trained to see the body as some kind of biological machine. And that's why if you're on the medical conveyor belt, if you're in the medical system, you will likely be sent to a gastroenterologist for digestive issues, or an oncologist for cancer issues, or an endocrinologist for hormone issues, because they treat these parts of the body separately. But here's the reality. No part of the body is separate from another part. There is no system in the body separate from another system. And that very approach can actually create autoimmune disease or worsen it, because that's not how the body works. Furthermore, the body itself is not separate from the mind and the spirit and the soul. Unfortunately, the medical industry is based on a false premise that the body is just a body, but it is a spiritual instrument. What I've seen over and over in a decade of specializing in autoimmunity is that the body is so wise and powerful that it will eject you from a life that is not suited to your soul. So there are absolutely physical root causes of autoimmune conditions. Our outer environment, nutrition, toxins, trauma, that can be a big trigger. But what can also be a big trigger is living a life that is fundamentally misaligned with our higher calling. We know that stress contributes to autoimmune conditions. I mean, even your doctor has a general idea about that. What is the greatest stress that a person can experience? It is living a life that is not aligned with their soul. It is living a life where they have inherited how they should dress and live and act and speak and what they should do and how they should interact with others, and they never got to choose any of that for themselves. So they are living from a false self, we could say. They are living from this societally or religiously or familially programmed self, and that's not their true self. And the body is allergic to the false self. So that's where a lot of chronic health issues can come from. especially for people who feel like they have tried everything in the medical route and they're still sick, and then they feel like they've tried everything in the holistic world. They've tried different nutrition protocols, different supplement protocols, they've tried going to functional medicine doctors, and they're still struggling with health conditions. That's because now we have to look at a deeper root cause on the spiritual level, on the level of your soul. The greatest stress you can ever experience is living a life that's not aligned with your soul. So how do we relieve that stress? We get in alignment at the deepest level. And that's what I dive into also in the autoimmune class. I take a fully holistic approach. We look at the root causes in the outer environment, in the inner environment. We dive into releasing trapped emotions, releasing trauma, changing nutrition and lifestyle and supplements. Everything is covered in this program. I'm going to ask you to entertain a question that you might never hear from your doctor. That question is, what would your life look like if you were free from autoimmunity and pharmaceuticals? I want you to think about that. What would it look like if you weren't limited by health challenges and flare-ups and pain and digestive issues? What would it look like if you could travel whenever you want to, wherever, and not worry about this? You could dedicate yourself to your hobbies, your career, you could be fully engaged in your family life. You wouldn't have to worry about the impediments that autoimmune disease and pharmaceutical side effects and pharmaceutical expense can often cause. I will tell you something that might sound a little radical right now. If you are in a moment of suffering and pain, and trust me, I was there. But right now, after being fully healed, fully autoimmune free for a decade, right now, I can tell you that the best thing that ever happened to my health was an autoimmune diagnosis. Because of that, I learned how my body heals. I learned how to change my inner and outer environment, and I got off the medical conveyor belt, not just when it came to autoimmunity, but when it came to other aspects of my health. And that has made me so independent and so vital and so empowered in many, many other ways. It really is a mission, a soul mission for me to share this information with autoimmune patients and to give you the roadmap for your autoimmune freedom journey. I have been through this process. I know the pitfalls. I know how to make this process streamlined, efficient, effective, and even fun. This is a journey to not just autoimmune freedom in your life, but freedom in so many other areas of your life. I would love to support you on that journey in the autoimmune class. You can go to the link that I'll share with this video and book an initial consultation call. This is a no pressure call. I'll just hear where you are on your wellness journey and your autoimmune journey. And if it's a fit, we can get you started in the autoimmune class. Thank you for watching, and here's to your health.